Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Xenoblade Chronicles 3D for the new 3DS. This title was sent to me by Nintendo Portugal so that I could give it a look and tell you guys my opinions on it. And for those of you who don't know what Xenoblade Chronicles is all about, it is an RPG that came to the Wii, not the Wii U, the Wii back in June 2010, and it has been hailed as one of the best RPGs ever made. And I've always wondered just exactly what was so special about Xenoblade Chronicles, but I never got around to actually playing it. So the fact that I have a new 3DS and I got to play it this time around was definitely something that I was looking forward to, and to, get my critical eye on it so that I could judge exactly what is so special about this game. And I have to say, it has delivered on pretty much all fronts, to the point where after, I think I'm like almost 4 hours in at this point, which is obviously for a game like this, only really qualifies me to give you my very early impressions of it. But even being just 4 hours in, I'm just like, this game right here is probably one of the best games that I will play this year, easily. Like, there are, I think, so far, because I've been playing my 3DS ever since I got it, and I've been testing out a bunch of titles that Nintendo sent me. I've been, throwing out a couple of videos and whatnot, and there have been 3 games that, for me personally, again, this is, when I make my videos, they're mostly about personal opinion, let's be honest here. So the games that you find essential or not for your 3DS are going to vary depending on person to person. Like, I know that 80% or 90% of people who play the 3DS are going to say, like, oh, Pokemon is a must-have game. And I'm just sitting here and like, no. So again, it's all about personal preference. But in my opinion, the games that I would consider, like, if you have a 3DS, these are 2 games at least that I have played that I think you need to own. Those games would be Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. Without a doubt, this is a must-have if you own a 3DS. And the other game would be Bravely Default. It is just such an amazing friggin' game. Just blows my mind how good this game is. And now another game has entered the arena. Unfortunately, this particular game is only compatible with the new 3DS because it actually takes advantage of the more powerful CPU and the improvements in hardware that the console has. So this particular game, it only works if you have the new 3DS. So bear that in mind. But in my opinion, if you do own one of the new 3DSs, this game is also a must-have. It is that good. So what is the story like, for instance? Because I know that a lot of you guys are going to be wondering, so what's the story like? It must be an amazing story or something like that. And it is. The story is amazing, and I want to avoid spoiling it as much as possible. Let's just say that there are 2 giant robots. I mean, the world was essentially water when everything began. It was just water, nothing else. But then 2 robots showed up. They were called Bionis. And these 2 robots started fighting each other until they got to a point where they essentially killed each other. But these robots were huge. And so eventually humans appear in there. I'm not sure if they come from another planet or what have you, but humans show up and they're essentially living on the body of these robots. These robots have, obviously rusted away and whatnot, and there's just like mountains and stuff growing on top of the robots' bodies. But there are people living on these giant robots, the people have been living in peace and whatnot. But eventually they get invaded by this force of robots, which I'm not sure if they're related to the initial robots or not. There's still a lot of aspects of the story that I don't know yet, and people, please feel free to correct me in the comment section, just because I know that a lot of people will probably have played this game all the way at this point, since the game came out back in 2010. But please avoid spoilers. We really don't want to spoil the game for the newcomers to the Xenoblade Chronicles franchise, so let's avoid that discussion. But so robots came in and they attacked the people, and there was this one guy who was able to wield this special sword called the Monado, which, if you guys have seen any videos about Xenoblade Chronicles, you know that one of the main characters is called Shulk, and that he wields this weird-looking sword. That weird-looking sword is called the Monado, but it wasn't Shulk, the initial wielder of the Monado. It was this other guy called Dunban. But essentially, there was a war, and Dunban was able to defeat the robots. The robots left, and they never came back. And the game starts when everything is in a period of peace, and people are just like doing research for defenses and whatnot, because there's constantly debris falling to the city where they live, which is Colony 9 and whatnot. And one of the things that I have to say I love about it is that, a lot of our JRPGs and RPGs in general just kind of start with a cataclysmic event, like something terrible happened. This one starts by telling you the story of that original battle against the robots, but the robots are called Mechlons, by the way. But shortly after they tell you the story of that battle, they put you in a period of peace, which is something I love. I love when an RPG starts in a period of peace, where it's like you just get to roam around and explore and fool around in the world and whatnot. And I think that's a great start for a game like Xenoblade Chronicles. I think that is one of the things that kind of got me hooked. The fact that it started in a period of peace and you're just doing mundane things. You're just like, oh, you need to go over here, collect materials for this and whatever. And I know at this point you guys are like, collect materials? What are these MMO mechanics you're talking about? But it's nice because the game has an amazing art style to begin with. As a matter of fact, it is something that basically saves the game, is the game's art style. Because at this point in time, when you're going to look at this game, I'm going to be showing some footage alongside the video and whatnot. When you look at the game, you're like, wow, that game looks old. And yes, it does. Unfortunately, the textures have not aged all that well, to the point where when you turn on the 3D effect, I almost think that there's some stuff that looks kind of weird because of how big the pixels are in a way. But the fact of the matter is the art style of the game saves it. In my personal opinion, I think the game has a beautiful art. It is a very beautiful looking game. And that kind of saves the fact that the graphics are clearly not the best that I've seen on the 3DS. Not by a long shot. Which is interesting because you're like, so this game takes advantage of the new 3DS's more powerful hardware, and yet it is not one of the best looking games on the 3DS. What gives? What gives is the fact that the world is huge, and it is an open world that you can pretty much go anywhere you want almost from the start, I want to say. Like, I didn't try to go like miles off away from the city or whatever, but I was looking around and I was expecting the typical RPG stuff like, oh, you can't go here yet, there's invisible walls and that kind. Nothing like that. Like, I was seeing this lake and I'm like, oh, I wonder if I can jump down there, for no reason other than I want to know if I can do it, because most RPGs would not let you do that kind of stuff. And I just jump off a cliff, lose like half my health, and I'm like, whoa, what the hell? I didn't land on water though. I landed like on, on solid ground. I was like, whoa, what the hell? The game just let me do this. Okay, let me see if you can swim. I just go to the water, boom, your character starts swimming. I was super surprised because we're talking about a game that was released back in 2010, and it's doing all these things that a lot of games aren't doing today. And that is what is so amazing about this game, is that it's got a beautiful art style. It is just a beautiful looking game. It's just, again, textures aren't really all there. The textures aren't that amazing. It's got an awesome story. I know that I just gave you guys the basics, which is like, oh, there was this war in the past, and now we're in a period of peace, kind of rebuilding and whatnot. And obviously something else is going to happen. I'm not going to tell you guys about it. But let's just say that today, as I was playing the game, I saw a cutscene, and let me just tell you, animations on the cutscenes of this game are friggin' amazing, because you have robots and stuff. I'm not talking about the robots that come to kill you. You have those as well, but I'm talking like they have mechs that certain characters can pilot, and the way that they did the animation for the mechs is so well done. That's what, again, one of those things that surprised me. It was like, wow, these animations are friggin' amazing. And as the cutscene was playing out, I'm sure that all of you guys who played this game, you guys will probably know which cutscene I'm talking about. It almost had me to the point where I was almost tearing up. That's how good. That's when you know that a game's got a really good story. When you care so much about the characters that you're to the point that you're tearing up, you're like, oh no, what the hell? What the hell is gonna happen? That's what I was thinking as this cutscene was happening. And it just goes to show you that the simple fact that a game looks, super HD or whatever, best textures in the world and whatnot, it doesn't make that much of a difference if the rest of the game doesn't really add up to be as good as the visual look. And this game clearly proves it. And again, it's just, I'm trying so hard not to tell you guys that specific cutscene that I just watched, because it's so good. It just blew my mind. But okay, apart from the cutscenes and the huge open world, the fact that the world is open is a very interesting thing, because like they give you quests. Like you have your main quest at all times. It's always active, and you're just like, okay, you have to go over here if you want to get your main quest done. But as you go into town and you get to interact with certain NPCs and whatnot, they give you side quests that you can complete. So whenever you go outside on your main missions and stuff, you can complete side quests along the way. And the amount of freedom that you have when you are doing these things is just something that I don't usually see in a lot of RPGs these days. I just don't expect it. Usually RPGs have become a lot more linear, and this game is so open that it's very surprising, particularly for a game that is this old, you know? Because I just didn't expect it. There's a lot of stuff that has surprised me in this game, and I totally understand all the praise that the game has received. It is simply because of the fact that it is an incredibly open game, and it is a game that, on top of that, also has a very solid combat system, which, again, is not something that you sometimes expect. You expect games to make concessions on some things in order to, like, okay, we're going to spend this amount of time developing this amazing world. Maybe the combat's not going to be that great. Nope. The combat is very deep, and it is a very rewarding experience because you can do combos with characters. You will control a party of characters. You will control one of those characters, and the rest of the characters will kind of assist you, but you can change which character you are controlling at any point. It's not like you'll be switching characters in combat, but you can decide, okay, this character is going to be the leader for now, so I'm going to control this character. So you don't have to even control the main character if you don't want to. You can control one of the side characters and stick with that. I personally have been controlling Shulk for most of the game because that is just the decision I made. I'm like, I want to control Shulk, and that's that. And the rest of the characters just kind of support me. There's another dude that is a tank. And what I like is the combo mechanic that you have. It actually combos together the skills of different characters. So for instance, the first time that you will actually fight the Mechlons, and you don't have the Monado at this point, so you don't have the big weapon that is capable of defeating Mechlons by the thousands, you have to plan how you're going to do this because you need to topple your enemies. And topple involves playing to two debuffs that your two characters have. So you have to use Shulk to inflict the debuff that is called Break by using one of his special attacks. And then you have to wait for the other character, who is Rhine, to inflict his debuff, which is like Wild Down or something. I forget the name. And when he does that, then the mechs fall over. They topple. And at that point, you can damage it. And it's just the way that the combos work is just amazing. And then not only you have these combos in combat, but you also have this gauge that builds up as you defeat enemies. And it builds up to a point where it's like, okay, now you can do a chain attack. And once you can do a chain attack, what this does is it allows you to do several attacks. The game practically pauses at this point. The combat is always real time, apart from when you're doing chain attacks. So when you do chain attacks, you decide, okay, I want Shulk to do this attack, then it switches to another character, and you're like, okay, I want this character to do this attack, switches to another character if you have a party of 3, and you decide the next attack, and they all execute kind of like simultaneously. And at that point, there's then an option that you will, if you are able to press the B button at the right time, you will be able to do another chain attack, and you can just keep going up to like 15 chain attacks or something like that. Something ridiculous. Speaking of those like mini quick time events where you have to press the B button, this also happens where sometimes your character is trying to incentivize your party members and whatnot, so it's something that you need to keep an eye on. But usually the game handles it really well because it almost pauses. It doesn't really pause, but it slows down the action. And when the action slows down, you're like, okay, I know this is coming. So it's not just like press B now or die. It's more in the lines of, okay, we're going to slow this down so that your brain associates that, okay, something's going to go down, I better be ready. And then it shows up the button and you have to press that about the right time, and that will give you like buffs or increase the party morale. There's a bunch of stuff that can happen from that. So combat, very satisfying, huge open world. It just makes me want to explore the entirety of the world. And not only that, but whenever you discover like a meaningful landmark in the game, you can just fast travel to it. So it's not like, oh, there's this huge world, now you have to spend like hours upon hours walking on it. No, it's just you go from location to location, and from that point onwards, you can just fast travel from important locations to important locations. There's a bunch of hubs throughout the world that you can fast travel to. Sometimes these fast travel things will be disabled, however, like when you're doing main quests and whatnot, there might be a specific event that will take place and they want you to, take a certain path. So they will be like, no, you have to manually walk to the place that you want to go to because there's going to be stuff happening in between. Beyond that, another thing that really surprised me is the fact that when you change gear, it instantly changes the appearance of your character, which is something that you don't see in a lot of RPGs of this nature. Usually the characters kind of stick to their original costumes and you're just like, oh, I switched the bracelet or something. No, here they went like all out. I'm talking all out. Like you switch the weapon, boom, weapon switches. You switch the piece of armor, like a chest piece, the chest piece switches. You switched boots, the boots switch. Everything changes the way your character looks, which was interesting because by the time I finished my last play session, Shulk was actually wearing nothing at all on top because I picked up this item that was called swimming oil, and apparently that's what I'm using as an armor. So Shulk's just like bare chested, he's just ready to kick some ass, which I thought was really cool. And he's also got a helmet, so he's like bare chest, helmet, and pants. What the hell is going on? It's just really, really good. And if it wasn't for the again, the only thing that really bothered me in the game was the low resolution textures, because you definitely can feel those, and I'm pretty sure if you guys watch the gameplay that I'm going to splice in this video, you will be able to notice that, like, you know, the graphics aren't the best that they could be. But again, the thing about it is that's because of the size of the world. Like, I'm talking about fast travel and whatnot, but I haven't told you guys that when you do fast travel, there's no load times. There are no load times. Like, that blew my mind. Like, let's say I went across the map, like really far away from a location. Then I'm like, okay, let's teleport back to where we were. And you open up the map, you select the point where you want to go. And once your character teleports from one place to the other, that's it. It's instant. There are no load times. That blew my mind. Now, beyond all of the stuff that I've already said, that just makes this one of the best games I've ever played, period. Like, I am super in love with this game. Beyond that, there's also an affinity system, which affects like relationships between characters that you have to kind of maintain, relationships between your party members, which will actually increase their combat performance. And then there's also relationships with NPCs that I'm not exactly sure what they do, but as you complete side quests and whatnot, you will also earn affinity towards locations. Like, I've earned a lot of affinity towards Colony 9, which is where you start. I've also earned some affinity towards some NPCs that I've completed quests for and whatnot. So there's also that to keep in mind. So there are a lot of systems in this game, and it is just the story. The story would really surprise me. Like I said, I was almost tearing up in the last cutscene that I watched. It was that good. This game, in my opinion, super solid. If you like RPGs, open world RPGs, you can't go wrong with this game. If you own the new 3DS, I would say you need to just get this game. That is my recommendation. I mean, if you watch my channel, I'm assuming that you have tastes very similar to mine. And Xenoblade Chronicles, from the 4 hours I've spent with it so far, is that good. It is one of the best games that I've played. And all the praise that I've seen for this title, completely justified. And that surprised me. I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting to like look at it and like, okay, it's kind of cool and whatnot, but no, it's actually really, really friggin' good. Now, I know that I'm just singing its praises. I'm kind of doing the same thing that people have done before me, but it's almost like I'm not going to look for flaws where they don't exist. This game is simply a very good game. The only flaw that I see in it is the low resolution textures that are going to turn a lot of people off. If you don't have a big problem with lower resolution textures, you can't go wrong. You just can't go wrong. As a matter of fact, this game can almost be a case study that shows people, look at how friggin' good this game is with these textures, okay? It just shows you don't need top-of-the-line, amazing, brutal graphics to make a game. That's going to be it for this video. Otherwise, people are going to start calling me a Xenoblade Chronicles fanboy, and I'm going to be proud of it. Thank you very much for watching. Leave me all your comments, feedback, all that kinds of good stuff in the comment section below. And I'll see you in the next one.